Hello, my name is Tanasia Buchanan, and the climate issue in Cincinnati that I chose to cover was air quality, specifically poor air quality. Um, this is something that I chose to talk about because we see it in so many different ways in Cincinnati, especially over the past few years, and I'm going to talk about all of that stuff later in the presentation. Something that I saw while I was looking this up, researching everything, was that Cincinnati is ranked 14th worst out of 208 total areas in a year-round particle pollution by the American Lung Association. This is something that very much so stood out to me. This is as of 2025. I know I'm going to talk about this in the next slide, but I know that we were not as bad as we are now, and it's probably due to recent emissions and just things that can affect air quality, such as like fires and so much more stuff that I'll talk about later. So, the issue at hand is that Cincinnati was ranked 25th worst city based on air quality by the American Lung Association in 2018, and now in 2025, 7 years later, we're ranked 14th worst, which moves us up 11 places by the American Lung Association. And this is a very prevalent issue because air pollutants can lead to lots of health issues that I'm going to talk about in the next slide. The basic ones being asthma, shortness of breath, and aggravated lung diseases. We see these in all different ages. I'm going to expand on this a lot more in the next slide. I also want to point out that here I have a picture of Cincinnati, which was probably at a point of pretty bad air quality. If I had to guess, I would say that this is a picture from 2023 when there was the Canadian wildfires, and that smoke came all the way to us, and it affected our air quality very drastically. So this is probably having to do with that. So why should we care about this? Like I said, air pollutants can lead to health issues. It can lead to asthma attacks, shortness of breath, aggravated lung diseases, and much more. And this is kind of on a smaller scale. As we see in this diagram, air pollution affects people throughout their lifetime. So it depends on what stage in your life that you're at, of how vulnerable you are to, air quality changes and poor air quality. So as we see, if you're pregnant, you're at risk because that can affect your baby. Children are obviously at risk through gaining asthma attacks or just asthma in general, slower development of lung function, developmental problems, and more. And then adults have pretty much the same effects, not the developmental effects, but they have more aggravated lung diseases. You can see those in adults and also the elderly. Some would argue that the elderly are the most vulnerable at this stage in their life, due to just, being older and having weaker lungs at that stage of their life. So obviously air pollutants are not going to aid this in any sort of way. So every group is vulnerable to changes in the air that surrounds us and pollutants that may be trapped in the air. So some solutions. There are many parties acting on the solution or on the poor air quality situation. The Green Cincinnati Plan is the main thing I would like to focus on when it comes to solving the issue of poor air quality in Cincinnati. The Southwest Ohio Air Quality Agency and the Clean Air Improvement Program do more things to maintain the things that have been put in place by the Green Cincinnati Plan, and they also do more to protect citizens. But essentially, the Green Cincinnati Plan addresses climate change and builds a more sustainable future. This is their mission: a sustainable, resilient, and equitable future for Cincinnati. That's their mission. The mission of the Southwest Ohio Air Quality Agency is to protect regional air quality. And then the mission of the Clean Air Improvement Program is to support businesses and create jobs while enhancing the health and safety of Ohioans. I'm mainly going to focus on the Green Cincinnati Plan and the Southwest Ohio Air Quality Agency, but I just want to say that the Clean Air Improvement Program, supports businesses and creates jobs while enhancing the health and safety in Ohioans by implementing programs to improve air quality by funding projects that contribute to better air quality within like air quality facilities. But overall, all of these agencies and plans or programs contribute to the betterment of air quality in Cincinnati in their specific ways. So, how effective has the Green Cincinnati Plan been? So, the Green Cincinnati Plan has been able to reduce air pollution by taking advantage of natural resources in order to limit the effect of Cincinnati's poor air quality. And this is one of the main things that I took away from all of the research behind this. But what they've done, they plant trees in neighborhoods with poor air quality so that the issue can be combated with fresh air from the trees. Um, and this has made them very effective at reducing air pollution and mitigating the effects of it. Here it says they support and fund the development of natural corridors and tree barriers along streams and rivers, interstates and highways, and a lot of those streams and rivers, interstates and highways you're going to find in areas with poor air quality and typically low income neighborhoods around Cincinnati. Some more of their priority actions are to expand monitoring of air quality and nuisance odors, incorporating citizen science in priority neighborhoods, to provide resources, services, and education for residents in priority neighborhoods on air quality alert systems, sources of poor air quality, and air quality regulations. Something else that I know that they did in this specific neighborhood in Cincinnati, Lower Price Hill, I know that they installed like a air quality monitor on top of a firefighter station so that they could tell when the air quality was changing and how poor it was. I did some work with the Green Cincinnati plan and planning it, and that's something that my group helped establish. Um, they also strengthen air emission regulations through doing all of this stuff. Um, so yeah, in my opinion, I think the Green Cincinnati plan is very effective, and we've seen so much work that they've done to implement these things that they say. So the Southwest Ohio Air Quality Agency and how effective they have been. So they strive to monitor air pollution and send out alerts for counties in Ohio, like Butler County, Hamilton County, Campbell County, and they also monitor, permit, and comply or create compliance efforts in relation to air quality. Um, and I think that those things have been very effective in the improvement of air quality and also the education aspect in making citizens more aware of how air quality affects them, what they can do to mitigate the poor air quality and just emissions that can be contributing to air quality, whether we know it or not, or aware of it or not. And this is an example over here that I have of sending out alerts for counties in Ohio, and also just like tips that have been put out by the Southwest Ohio Air Quality Agency um, to help um, mitigate the poor air quality situation that we're currently facing. So, for example, take the bus, carpool, don't idle your vehicle, combine trips, avoid use of gasoline-powered lawn equipment on air quality alert days, and those air quality alert days are the days where the air quality is not as good as it could be, and they send out those alerts to citizens so that they know to do these things. Avoid oil-based paints, never burn leaves, suspend use of fire pits on air quality alert days, which makes sense. Conserve electricity by turning out lights and unplugging unused appliances and electronics. All of these things are examples that could contribute to poor air quality. So, as great as the idea of mitigating air quality sounds, and how great it would be to do so, And not saying that it hasn't been done, because it definitely has, but there are definitely many limitations that can get in the way of improving something as large scale as air quality. So some of the main limitations that I have are weather fluctuations. The weather's always changing, and that can contribute to poor air quality, or great air quality, depending on what the weather's like. Um, Monitoring what is contributing to the issues, of poor air quality. So many things contribute to air quality. It's hard to target specific issues. Over here, I have this air quality measures, and there's so many things that go into controlling air quality and also monitoring air quality. Um, for example, green infrastructure, low emission fuels, emission controls, education, traffic planning, and more. Um, so all of those things go into, planning for air quality and monitoring it. Um, Global cooperation is probably a big thing, I would imagine. So trying to fix air quality in just Cincinnati is hard without trying to solve the issue globally. Um, so if air quality is poor in Kentucky, it's definitely going to be poor in Cincinnati. If air quality is poor in Indiana, it probably will be poor in Cincinnati. If it's poor in Michigan, it probably will be poor in Cincinnati or Ohio in general. Especially if it's poor in Kentucky, it will be poor in Cincinnati. So it's hard to solve the issue in Cincinnati on such small scale compared to globally. If the issue was being targeted globally by, you know, just leaders in general, then it would probably not be as prevalent as an issue. For example, as I talked about earlier, the Canadian wildfires reached us all the way here in Cincinnati. So that's just an example of how an issue that another country is can facing climate wise can affect how we are dealing with our climate issues that we have, and can affect our climate issues in general. Um, Costs. A project such as resolving the issue of air quality can definitely be expensive, and getting funding for a project such as the Grand Cincinnati Plan can be a lot. And then resistance. So this kind of ties into education. So people not understanding why air quality is an issue. Resistance from businesses that are heavily contributing to air quality, because they might have to change like their way of running their business to lower emissions, possibly contributing to poor air quality. When I think of this, I think of just like factories that are emitting lots of gas, which definitely contribute to poor air quality. So those are lots of limitations, but I think that they're all very feasible. And then lastly, I just have all my sources that I use. So all of these sources helped me find my pictures, the information about the Green Cincinnati Plan, the Southwest Ohio Air Quality Agency, and the Clean Air Improvement Program. Um, and then wildfire information from news broadcasting programs, like Fox News and Channel 5. They both gave me information about like the rankings, um, some sources from University of Kentucky, and why air pollution matters. So yeah, thank you for listening.